Just 39 days to Election Day and 10 days until the second presidential debate. We also have some new numbers coming out about the impact of the first debate. This Reuters poll shows people picked Hillary Clinton by a wide margin when it came as to who did better of the two. And that obviously on the heels of a CNN poll, which showed about the same results here, at least 2-1 by almost every count, and sometimes even more than that. The Trump camp, though, reportedly is considering bringing up Monica Lewinsky and other Bill Clinton scandals in the next debate. There's division within the campaign on that, but if they do listen to their own party, almost every Republican of note that's coming forward is saying, don't go there. It's a terrible idea. You may remember Hillary's popularity. It was at its highest in 1988. That was right in the middle of the Monica mess as she got sympathy. Now, we're also just getting in the first swing state polls since the debate. Now, it's from PPP, I'll just say it, public policy polling, which tends to be a little bit left. But it shows Hillary, she's up in the key states of Pennsylvania, Colorado, Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida. Not by huge margins, but nonetheless, a difference from where we were even 2 weeks ago. And speaking of Florida, Trump's latest controversy certainly will not help him with voters there, especially in South Florida. Newsweek reporting that one of Trump's companies secretly did business with Communist Cuba while Fidel Castro was in charge. Not violated, by the way, the strict American bans in place at the time. But moreover, when you say Fidel Castro in Miami, you're certainly not going to make many friends among the Cuban immigrants there. Now, Trump is also struggling to resonate with female voters. And his latest feud with the former Miss Universe, who he slammed for gaining weight, well, that sure will not help him there as well. Fox's Megyn Kelly grilled Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway about that one.
You know, you raised the question about, he made a couple comments over 25 years. You know that's not true. You know he has repeatedly made comments about women, about their looks, about their size, their weight. Even in this campaign, talking about Carly Fiorina's face, retweeting a negative picture about Heidi Cruz's face, criticizing Hillary Clinton and her look. And Kellyanne, this is an issue for him, is it not? The only reason I ask you that question is because you're suggesting it was out of line somehow for that issue to come up.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I'm just wondering why she's spending tens of millions of dollars in negative ads and negative mail pieces and never putting together an aspirational
because she's
positive
killing
vision.
him with women, and she sees an advantage there, and she's trying to exploit it. And my question to you is whether he needs to come up with a better answer than telling Fox and Friends, well, she gained a bunch of weight when she won Miss Universe, and she was a real problem.
Well, now we're conflating different things. What I would say to that is this, that he should speak to America's women based on the issues about which they care, prosperity and security.
All right, a lot to unpack here, and let's bring in our panel for that. Richard Brodsky is a former Democratic New York State Assemblyman, now a senior fellow at Demos and a professor at NYU.
Maybe you should repack it.
That's right. Conservative strategist Bill O'Reilly and Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent.
Even I can't defend Trump on this one.
Yeah, I know. It's hard as you try. Now, Bill, you've prepped candidates for debates here. You've done the damage control after ones that don't work out well. You tell them where they're supposed to go and wherever else. It's usually after a debate, the campaign spins as well as they can that no matter what their candidate did well. I don't think any objective person watching that would have thought Trump won. There was differing degrees as to how badly he lost, but nonetheless he lost. The campaign leaked to the press repeatedly that their candidate isn't disciplined because they think that's the best chance they have that he'll prepare for the next one. And if he was only going to prove their point, in the 3 days of the news cycle after it, every day he manages to step in it with this former Miss Universe here, and he won't let it go away. And now he's putting it out there that, yeah, I'm going there as it relates to Bill Clinton and his picadillos. Can he be controlled? Because I thought Conway had done a fantastic job since she came on board. Yep. And how much from the outside, and you may even know a little bit what's going on the inside, is the campaign in disarray because they don't know what he's going to do or won't do in 10 days' time?
It's a lot there. I'm in the camp that he could have done worse in the debate. I mean, she obviously won it. I think any objective person would say that, although 36% of Americans went with Trump, but maybe there's some partisanship there. But it could have been worse. He lost ground in the debate. I don't think it's permanent. He survived it. He can come back another day. But I think when the campaign must be so frustrated to watch all the layups that he missed. Like, it just, I mean, evidently he didn't even listen to the advice they gave him in the prep, which is just insanity. When Mrs. Clinton goes out there and talks about cybersecurity with her email problem, how does he not turn and say, how are you talking about cybersecurity? Just natural stuff. She didn't miss any of that. She's very good.
And he didn't bring up Benghazi
She
once.
does her homework.
Yeah.
If there's an opportunity, she takes it, and that's got to drive him crazy. I do buy that they're leaking that to try and get him, to embarrass him into listening to them.
But certainly, if he was going to take that memo, here's the other two narratives that come out of the campaign: that the kids are upset with the direction of the campaign because it's hurting Trump business. Okay. And again, that was from John Harwood, a respected guy who was hearing that.
I don't think it's the campaign hurting the business.
No, right. And then I think that ship sailed. But then the second thing is, if Bill, they're trying to get his attention, it's not working. Look at what he's doing on Fox, for crying out loud. Keep going with the woman's weight.
Right.
It's a no-win.
Yeah.
Every bait she threw out, he bit.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question. He really came back with a great deal of momentum, or as Richard has pointed out before, she dropped quite a bit, and he benefited from it. I mean, after the dust up with the Khan family, he was it looked to me like the race was over right there, and somehow she let him back into the race, really, and now he's doing it again. He's really knocking it back. By the way, I would go for the Lewinsky hit.
You would?
I would go there.
Do you agree on that one? Because that's where I was going next. If he brings her, I mean, people forget, I mean, if he blames her in effect for that, and I got a little bit of a preview, I'm sure you got it too, as to how they'll go there. They'll say, listen, look at how you treated those women. You, Hillary Clinton, treated those women after they came forward with allegations of sexual mistreatment by Bill Clinton here. You went after the victims here, bump, 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 bump. I think that's nuance. I think at the end of the day, she's waiting for it, and she can knock that one out.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll have a response that's ready for that, but I wouldn't go there if I was the Trump campaign, just because it seems like that's been asked and answered of the American public. And look what it did to buoy Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton's numbers in the late 90s, as you saw, in the midst of all of those attacks. And so I think this is a chapter that the American people feel like is settled, and I don't think they particularly have much relish to go back and revisit it, especially given the number of complaints that we saw about the lack of focus on issues of substance in the first debate. I don't think that's where people want to go.
I know people say that. But you think people really want that? I think 81 million people tuned in because they wanted a food fight.
Right.
Yeah, but I think they got a taste of it the first go round, and they know what they know. They know what they saw. I'm not sure that they want to necessarily go back.
If he goes there, Richard, on the Lewinsky stuff and the Jennifer
Catherine
Flowers
Willey
and whatever else, does she just try and take the high road and say, I can't believe you'd go there or whatever? Or this is not a man that's not living in a very big glass house when it comes to infidelity and all the rest. Does she turn the tables on him?
No, I think she plays the victim, and because she is the victim. But what's going on here is that both sides of the Trump camp, he was fine or he needs to prep better, are missing the point. Bad generals fight the last war. This next debate is not going to be the dynamic that the first debate was. There's not going to be the same opportunity to bluster your way through. He's going to have to, it's a town hall, so it's going to be real people that he's going to be supposedly contacting face to face and talking to. For him to pivot from them and saying your husband's no good, it's going to fall immensely flat. At some point, these races they're not static. People are going to start wanting to know, well, what do you want to do for me? And if he turns the second debate into a redo of the first debate without first establishing what he's going to do for American voters, it's going to be, the trend's just going to continue.
And if somebody asks him, if one of the people in the audience asks him a question that hits on one of those personal areas that he always gets defensive about, and he snipes back at them the way that he did at Lester Holt or the way that he did at Hillary Clinton in the first debate, that's deadly. You can't be seen as sniping at voters. You can snipe at the moderator, you can snipe at your opponent.
It's a game of momentum, though, and it's the one shot that he's got, and I think he's got to take the risk.
But that's not what got him when he got close, Bill. He got close because he stood next to the president of Mexico. He got close because he started focusing on issues like trade that people think he's strong on. He was the candidate of change. The only good moment I thought he had in the debate when he said to her, you've been around for 30 years.
Yeah.
Right.
That one in the Law and Order, I think,
Yeah,
even
well
though I
coached,
think
yeah.
the stop and frisk he went a little too far on, but I thought that line worked. But Bill, I've been wrong so many times. I thought what he said about John
How
McCain
ma-
was
how
going
many-
to kill him.
how
How
Oh,
many,
right.
how
I mean,
many times?
I can't count
Wait,
anymore,
let me
right?
check my notes.
Well, you too, pal. My point is, he went around an embargo and was doing business with Fidel Castro. I mean, people hear communist, right? That doesn't usually engender you. Is it just that there's too much that nobody processes it anymore? Or is there a tipping point where they say, wait a minute, he again in the debate found a way to not criticize Russia? I mean, even I, who think there's something there, right? I don't know what it is, but there's something there. He'll sell anybody out, except it seems for Putin, right? I mean, he'll sell his own party out. He'll sell, okay. So, and now you add another layer of that with, Fidel Castro. We have an embargo. Forget about hurting his vote in Florida, which I think is real, right? Is there anything where there's a cumulative where people are like, this guy's a dirtbag or this guy's out of his mind, that they just say no more?
Yeah, I don't think there's any straw that's going to break the camel's back at this point nationally. But that's really devastating to him in Florida, which is a must-win state. It's his second state after New York. It's his second home. He's done well in Florida. He's hung in there with Secretary Clinton in the polls the entire time. And if he loses the Cuban Republicans, which is it's like 73% of Cubans are Republican in Miami. That could take him. You see how Rubio reacted?
Yes.
Rubio went right at that. Was like, he's got to explain that. Rubio understands what a tough hit that is.
Remember, he's got this 40% of the electorate. He hasn't moved above it at his best day, and he doesn't go below it on his worst day. The question isn't, does this shift people away from him? I don't think it does. I think it does. It does two things. One, those people who are still on the fence will go to where Richard just said. It's enough already. And a bunch of people will go, I'm not voting for anybody.
Listen, Andrew, one thing. The numbers that we don't talk about are the third-party candidates, Stein and Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson twice now. We played the Aleppo quote before where he was asked by Barticle, so what would you, he goes, what's an Aleppo? Or okay. Then yesterday he was asked, okay, name one world leader here that you respect. He couldn't name a world leader, period. And my only point is, at what point is the 8% just people like to say it, but they don't vote that way, you think? Or do you think 8% is real? Or do you think it's even 4 or 5%? Clearly, it seems to be drawing more from her base, the millennials, than they are for Trump.
Traditionally, with a third-party candidate like this, the level of support in polling would decrease as you approached Election Day because voters realize that their guy's not going to wind up winning the White House. So they would tend to shift their votes and make them more practical votes. There may be less of that this go around because there's so little affection for the two main party candidates. But this kind of thing will seriously hurt him because it showed that he doesn't seem to be tuned in particularly well.
God.
Although I have to point out, I think if Donald Trump made that same mistake, it would damage him far less than if Gary Johnson did it or Jill Stein, who also, by the way, could not name a world leader, or Hillary Clinton.
Rick
I think
Perry and Sarah Palin, you have a third person at the table. That's all I have to say. Unbelievable. All right, coming up next. More corruption at Albany as several officials get arrested, including people very close to Governor Cuomo. But is it the system itself that should be on trial? The noted journalist, Mr. Brodsky, has written on the subject, and we'll speak about that after this.